All right, we're back. Something happened. YouTube has robots that flag for like copyright content. I don't know, but I'm going to update the Facebook page with this new link. All right. All right, so I need to post this real quick to the FHOA Facebook page. Create post. Okay, share, copy. Okay. All right, so now we're back. So I am Francis Pastorell. I'm the Assistant Director for Family Housing, Family and Student Services. And this is our first in a series of online cooking classes led by family housing residents. And tonight's is called Classic Italian with Francis and Avalon. So I come from Jersey. I grew up in Jersey and spent a lot of time in Long Island. A lot of Italian cuisine as I was a kid. And one of my favorite things is kind of a classic Italian vegetarian dish, Big Ziti, which tonight we are doing with ground beef, but I often have it as the vegetarian option. And you can too, just don't put the ground beef in it. And Avalon is going to be leading us in pizza.
I'm leading? I thought I was just
Well,
helping.
You're helping. It's Avalon's recipe. I just don't want to take credit for it. It's delicious. I don't want to like take the credit from you.
It's not. It's okay. Yes. Okay.
All right, let me text Dee real quick the new link to the new video, and I will refrain from singing any copyrighted songs. Maybe that's what it was. All right. So we had posted, for those of you who are like literally following along in real time, we had posted some ingredient lists. It's hopefully something that you can make with a lot of stuff you have around the house. Shredded cheese, flour, yeast. I know a lot of people are doing breads. So if you got some yeast.
You're referring to the pizza dough right now.
I'm referring to the pizza dough right now. We will not be making real pasta.
Generally, the ingredients, this is very Italian-American. It's just very noodle, sauce, cheese.
Yes.
Not intimidating.
It's not. Easy
complicated at all.
And a great dish if you have like a party that you're going to.
Yes. It's
and
good
you're
bulk, casserole-y kind of thing.
Meal trains, you got a friend who's pregnant, and you don't want to put a lot of effort into your meal train. Just kidding. It takes effort. Here we go. Enough jokes.
What are we starting with?
I think let's start with the baked ziti. Well, do you want to give us this? Let's do the sauce first.
Do you want me to do the sauce? Because I don't have to.
Let's do the sauce. We're going to show you how to make sauce. We are not going to personally be using the sauce that we make, but it's good to show. Is it hard to show?
No, not at all. I just want a clarification. So I think that there's nothing wrong with sauce from a jar. Is definitely how I grew up eating Italian-American food. I'm not Italian at all, but I think that a lot of people in the U.S. default to that for dinner. So it should be familiar. However, I guess as a grown-up, I've started making my own sauce. So if you could bring me an onion, that would be awesome.
Can do.
All right, so the reason why we're not going to use, excuse me?
Do you want me to chop the onion so you can teach?
Do you know how to chop an onion?
I sure do.
Okay. The reason why we're not going to actually use the from scratch sauce like we normally do is just that it tastes a lot better if you give it a couple of hours to cook down. And this YouTube, I've been assured, will not last a couple of hours. So, so Francis is taking down that onion.
What's it? If you can do it faster, you do it faster. I believe in you. I'm notoriously slow at chopping.
It's true. It's true. This is a really gigantic onion. Did you need one this big for the ziti, or would you?
No, I picked a very small one for the ziti.
Okay. So I think that there's no like very specific way to make a red Italian tomato-based sauce. I am personally just sort of an intuitive cook. I don't really measure, which is probably not great for this. But I will say that at the end, you food process it for it to be a smoother marinara texture. So you don't really have to worry about being very careful with your knife work for cutting the onion, for example, that I just did. You can, okay, cool. Looks like we're working. You can just kind of have rustic, big, chunky pieces, and that's fine. Can you do me a favor, Francis?
Yeah, set me to work.
Holy moly. Can you open that can?
Yeah.
All right. So we're just starting out, like I said, with a roughly chopped onion and a can of, what did you get?
Whole tomatoes?
Whole plum tomatoes.
Avalon likes to use Hunts. We can use any brand you like, though, but whole, you don't like Hunts?
I think, honestly, if it has an Italian name on the can, usually it tastes a little bit better.
I always use Hunts.
Hunts is totally fine. I will also use a store brand.
So with canned tomatoes, it's actually a great one to have at home in your, as we're all learning through COVID-19, never hurts to have some canned goods, some dry goods in a, stockpile is the wrong word, but sort of just to have about 2 weeks worth of supplies in case of emergency. And whole tomatoes are really, really excellent because they can be used for salads, they can be used for sauces, and all variety of sauces. Soups as well. They really last for quite a long time. They're really great, and they have a great flavor to them. You know, of course, if this was Ina Garden's kitchen, would we be making sauce with real plum tomatoes? Sure, but I think the canned stuff is good.
I like the canned stuff because
I'm doing bad.
They're steam peeled.
I was really trying.
Using raw ones or
How are you doing it so fast?
just doing it regular.
What's your technique?
Just doing it regular.
You can tell it opens the cans. I open the jars. We'll
Alright.
see that later.
So I'm just slowly gonna cook down over medium heat a whole onion, some olive oil, salt, and pepper in there. Once it starts to soften, I will put that can of tomatoes in. Season to taste. You can do a little bit of red wine. You can do some basil, garlic. If you have those things, and if you don't have those things, it'll be totally fine. But that whole process, cooking it really slowly, makes it taste richer. You can't wait to interrupt me.
No, I'm not.
But I would give yourself at least 2 to 3 hours for that. So that's pretty much the
And if you
sauce.
don't have fresh basil, what we really like using is an Avalon turned me on to these. These are really great. They're these little tubes, and you get them at most grocery stores. We like to go to Albertsons, and they're little tubes of like freshly ground herbs. Not freshly, because they're in a tube.
They're like a puree.
Yeah, and they last longer. And for me, garlic is a real drag to like cut up and smush into a meal. So I like this pre-smushed garlic. So that might be some of what we use tonight.
It's not ideal for packaging, I guess.
What can I get you? All right, so that's what you would do if you were going to make your own sauce, using that whole tomato can as sort of the base, seasoning to taste, like Avalon said, a little red wine,
Yeah.
basil.
And you can use that
onions.
sauce as a starter or a base sauce for spaghetti, for pizza, for really anything Italian. So we try to make it in bulk every once in a while, and we have it. I like to save our onion peels to make a soup stock out of, so that's what I'm doing right
She's
now.
just kidding. We use them for onion peel cookies. Just kidding. No, it
Gross.
is for stock. That's also a good thing to do with your chicken carcasses. Anyway, baked ziti time. This is the stuff I know how to do. So for baked ziti, you will need block of Parmesan. Of course, you can use pre-shredded Parmesan. Save yourself a little time, but shredding's not too
You
hard.
can use the Kraft can of powdered.
You can use the powdered kind. I like the powdered kind for making my own noodles at home, for having putting on popcorn. But for this dish, because you want the cheese to melt, you're going to want whole block or shredded Parmesan. I am going to be using a jar of sauce. That is my upbringing. But we did want to show you.
So that I can cook.
Yeah. So these are Ziti noodles. Does it have to be Ziti, you may ask? Can it be penny? Can it be
Rigatoni.
rigatoni? It can be really any tube-shaped noodle. After that, it really gets into that hot dog sandwich territory of, is it a big Ziti if the noodles don't have a hole in them?
I will say my family's from Pittsburgh, and rigatoni is as ubiquitous as Ziti. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, but the noodles have ridges, but they're little tubes.
I only get the Ziti just because it's in the name. What was we had a funny Ziti thing.
You and I had a funny Ziti thing?
Yes.
No, we didn't.
The chicken Parmesan thing?
Oh, whatever.
It's not that funny. All right, so let's shred this Parmesan cheese.
Wait, why are you starting with that? That's like the last thing you add.
I like to have all of my ingredients like in little bowls so that I can just kind of toss them as I go.
Where are your little bowls?
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Little bowls.
That's the Parmesan bowl?
That's my Parmesan bowl.
What's the onion for?
To chop up. That should go in that bowl.
Shouldn't you start cooking the meat?
I should start cooking the meat. See, she's so much better at this. I'm a very utilitarian cooker.
Just
like
please don't cut yourself.
I won't. When I'm cooking, I tend to just like very boring, just like a protein, like a potato. So I don't have as much experience. But when it is my turn to really go for it, I do a good job.
You're very capable.
Yeah, I'm capable. All right, so we are peeling this onion. All right, we're getting there. Probably okay, right?
That's absolutely okay.
I have a thing about icky vegetables, and if there's a little bit of a smush spot on a vegetable,
Smush-spot?
a smush spot on a vegetable, I tend to get wigged.
That's not bad. It's just a little bruise.
But I'm told that it's okay. All right, here we go. Chopping the onion.
So you're not going to be blending this so the cuts do matter because you're going to be eating the size.
Yes. So you do want to chop these up pretty finely because this is going to be cooked with the ground turkey. So we're using ground turkey. You can use ground beef. We find the ground turkey is a little bit lighter, a little bit healthier for you, but ground beef is sort of the traditional in the baked ziti. And I said before, this is my favorite vegetarian entree. That's generally how I've had it, is without any meat at all. It's really just the sort of noodles and sauce and cheese. But in more recent years, when I've prepared this for friends, for family, I've started adding the meat because it makes it more of a meal. And again, for something like a meal train where you want something that's going to kind of cover all those basic food groups, give folks the onions in my eye.
You're doing great. So Francis, what would you say to someone like me who would say this is just spaghetti with a different shaped noodle and it's not its own thing?
Listen, here. I would say that, so what's the difference between baked ziti and just spaghetti? The shape.
The fact that it's in you bake it like a casserole.
You bake it like a casserole. It goes in a dish.
There's some different ingredients that maybe you wouldn't add to a spaghetti, like this
true.
one. I'm gesturing to you.
Yes, well, that's a secret ingredient. We're not going to talk
It's a
about that.
secret.
Well, it's not a secret. It's on the ingredient list. All right, so we've got our onions chopped. So we're going to saute them for a little bit in here.
Make sure you turn on the pan that you're using.
I will. I'm using olive oil. Some people like butter. Some people like Smart Balance. It's whatever you want to do.
Don't use butter.
Well, some people use butter for a more decadent.
More decadent. Marinara sauce?
I said I'm going to turn on the stove top in a voice like I was going to remember, but I definitely did forget when the time came down to it. All right, so.
I can stir that if you want to get back on camera.
Oh, no, you don't got to do that. I'm on camera-ish.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Do you think you can do both? I believe you can do both.
I'm not doing anything, so yes.
You didn't even sign up for it, so I feel bad tasking you. You're the best. All right, so Avalon has graciously agreed to continue stirring some of these things. She's the real hero of this live stream. I'm just
You're
the
the
ingredients guy.
personality.
All right, so ground meat. So once those onions have cooked down a little bit, because again, you want them to be really kind of mixed in with the ground turkey, that's when you would add your ground turkey or ground beef, whatever meat that you want to add to this dish. And leave that over there. Now it's time to shred the Parmesan. So you see that the bulk of the cheese we're going to be using is this sort of Italian style blend. It's always got a little Parmesan in it. I like my baked ziti to have kind of a sharper taste, a kind of real sharp cheese taste, a tang. And so I tend to use a little bit more Parmesan than the recipe might call for. To me, it's just such a great cheese for pasta. Because pasta itself, there's not much flavor to it. And so the Parmesan gives it that zing.
There's flavor in all the ingredients that we're using.
Not in the noodles. The noodles just taste like noodles.
That's true. But if you salt your pasta water appropriately, your noodles taste
I
good.
never salt my pasta water. Did you salt it?
Yeah.
See? Oh, she's really saving this. Salt your pasta water, folks, unless you've already made your pasta, in which case, wow.
Like a ton of salt. Like your pasta water should be like the ocean.
It should be like brine.
Yeah.
Like the Mediterranean Sea.
Hey Francis, you're so into being Italian. Have you ever been to Italy?
I've never been to Italy, no.
Do you want to go to Italy?
I would love to go to Italy, to Rome, or to Florence. A lot of my friends studied abroad there. It's beautiful. No idea where my family comes from in Italy.
Really?
I truly don't. I think that the McQuades are from Cork, though. No, that's my stepdad's family.
Yeah, that's not Italy though.
No, it's not Italy. They're from Italy. Mainly, I'm a third Greek. I'm only a quarter Italian, so I
No,
can't
you're
forgive
not.
them. The thing about it is everybody in New Jersey is basically Italian. Whether or not you actually
You're
have
not.
any Italian
Way more
ancestry,
than a quarter Italian.
we're all just Italian in Jersey. All right, so that's my Parmesan. So now I'm waiting for the noodles. And in the meantime, I'm going to get out a big casserole dish.
You're gonna be waiting for a long time.
For the
just so
noodles?
you know. Well, no, for the meat sauce.
Oh, that's okay. The nice thing about baked ziti, so here's another reason why it's a great one for a meal train or a party dish, is because you can do it in so many stages. Because it is essentially just noodles, cheese, sauce, meat. If the ground turkey is not done, but everything else is done, just mix up what you got. And then ultimately, when the ground turkey does arrive, just pour that in. It's ready to go.
We're not.
You wouldn't?
No.
Why?
Well, you gotta get the sauce all together before you can.
My eyes.
You can't.
Oh,
just,
you're going to make the ground turkey with the sauce?
what the heck else would you plan on doing?
I don't know. Just
Just like
stir it up.
plop it on top?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't.
Ah.
Oh my gosh.
I would just pop it on top.
I said I was not gonna be mean.
Oof, that onion is still in my eyes. All right.
Open the kitchen window.
So, next up.
So do you like this? So Francis, you're making a meat sauce, correct?
Correctamundo.
Like a meat ragu kind of sauce, right? So you like to cook your onions down,
Mhm.
then you add the ground meat, you chop it up and brown it.
Mhm.
Do you like to season it additionally at all?
Yeah, a little bit of oregano, a little bit of that basil too. Oh, did you already put in the basil too? Nope, that's the one.
I can do it. I was just trying to help you narrate more.
All right, so in the meantime, I'm going to take, so insofar as how much cheese, that's never a question you want to ask me, because whether it's macaroni and cheese, baked ziti, anything really, my answer is always more cheese. So I think the recipe calls for probably about a bag. I put a bag in to start, and then I'm going to save about half a bag to layer the top with cheese too, for presentation, and just so you get that little bit of, as the fork goes in.
What's that?
Well, it kind of gets that breaking of the cheesy crust and then stretches out like a Stouffer's commercial. Is that good to go?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I wish I hadn't put the cheese in.
Yeah, I don't know why you did that.
That's fine. Put it into the smaller bowl.
Collect your thoughts later. If you don't mind.
No, my thoughts are collected. All right, so noodles are going to go in here. We're going to stick with olive oil on this.
Yeah. I'm worried that I might undercook.
No, it's actually okay if they're a little bit undercooked. Because you bake them, they will actually cook a little bit in the oven.
All right, so you're aiming for an al dente noodle.
An al dente noodle?
Your noodle package should instruct you accordingly.
So here's where that secret ingredient comes in. So in a traditional baked ziti, you would have some ricotta or ricotta. I don't know. I don't like dropping the A, but
Drop the A.
a lot of people drop the A.
It's a southern Italian.
Ricotta, whatever you want to call it.
Ricotta cheese.
A lot of people will use that, again, to bring in a little bit of that tang. But recently we learned that Greek yogurt, non-fat plain Greek yogurt, is a kind of low-fat alternative. Plus, it's something you're more likely to have around the house than, say, ricotta. Because ricotta is a kind of specialty ingredient. You're not going to be using it as often in recipes unless you make Italian food quite often, in which case maybe you got it in droves. For us, we have a lot of Greek yogurt because we'll use it as a substitution for sour cream and potatoes, use it in burritos, taco night. So Greek yogurt's a really versatile ingredient. So we're going to add that into our, yes, dear.
So I think that the typical replacement for ricotta cheese in a little bit of maybe an Italian sacrilege way, but is sour cream.
Oh,
so I think what you and I have done is we've gone an extra step further in the double replacement.
Yeah.
Because we also usually can't go through sour cream before it goes bad. So it's like a 2 degrees of separation thing.
If you're going to go through sour cream before it goes bad, you got to be really strategic. You got to plan baked ziti one night, taco night the next night, loaded baked potatoes the third night, and that's it.
Repeat.
That's all you can use sour cream for. What else can you use sour cream for?
I don't know. Probably lots of things that we don't need. You can make dips.
Dips. Spinach and artichoke dip on the 4th night. It's just more of a commitment that I'm willing to give to a single jar of sour cream. So yeah, so if you want that low-fat alternative, Greek yogurt is awesome. And plus, it's just good, a little bit of honey, a little bit of fruit. You got yourself a breakfast. All right, so I've got my noodles in here. You can, a good idea when your noodles come right off, you probably already know this, but using a little bit of olive oil to keep them separated so they're not clumping as much. You can also use butter for that, but, you know, it's an Italian dish, so we're using olive oil. We are going to take the Greek yogurt, kind of put that in. Now, if I was doing this vegetarian, I would just dump that entire jar of sauce right in there. But because we're mixing in some ground turkey, we're going to be putting in that, that sauce into the ground turkey once the ground turkey is a little more cooked up. So I'll add my sour cream. And while it's still a little bit steamy, I'm going to add my shredded cheeses. Because that'll allow it to do a little bit of pre-melting. Obviously in the oven, it's going to get real melty, real gooey and awesome. But this will allow for just a little bit of preliminary cheesy melt and mixing.
Beep, 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 beep. That was for Lily, not for you. The beeping, that is.
You can't see Lily, but Lily is one of 2 dogs that live in this house. Lily and Maggie.
No mas.
And then we have 2 cats. Okay, so just stirring that up. And it's okay. It doesn't have to be super duper stirred. You just don't want a big kind of melted ball of cheese in the middle of it. But remember, we're going to be putting this into a casserole dish ultimately. Would it still be a baked ziti if it was in a round bowl and you cooked it in that? I don't know. What is this right now? Not baked. So
This is not oven safe.
No, of course not. For many reasons, it's a bad idea to put this bowl in the oven. All right. So that's stirred up to my contentment. Now, we're not just here to make baked ziti. We're also here.
That, you have any specific tools that make the ziti making process easier, or kitchen supplies that people should really have to really attempt it?
If you're going to make baked ziti, I recommend a big bowl, like this one, because you're doing a lot of mixing ultimately before it all goes into the casserole dish. I just find casserole dishes are hard to mix in because it kind of flops over the side.
Yeah, it tends to make a big mess.
So a big bowl, a big stock pot for your sauce, or, you know, the gravy, as you might call it. I don't call it the gravy.
No one's that Italian here. Do you season that, salt and pepper it?
No, not typically.
Okay.
But that's me personally. I'm not much of a seasoner.
I like to season every step of cooking because it really helps it, in the end, come together.
You know what?
But I'm not telling you what to do.
No, let's do it.
I'm just using my philosophy. Don't do too much, because if you're doing a little bit as you go each time, then you just do a little bit each time. Just do a little salt and pepper each time.
All right, so now, like I said, this can just kind of sit, not for hours, but 20 minutes or whatever while we're waiting on the ground turkey browning. I'm just going to put this over yonder, and I'm going to get started to the best of my ability on some of the pizza.
Okay.
But, or I can take over here.
No.
All right, so now pizza.
Let me get your space totally ready.
Are we going to try to make it done?
What?
Don't worry about it. We did provide a list of ingredients for making your own dough. I don't know that tonight we have time or capacity to show how to make the dough.
Okay.
So we're going to be using the dough that was pre-made last week. There's a lot of great recipes. Essentially, it's flour, eggs, water, yeast.
There's no eggs.
Flour, water, yeast. A lot of the things you would use in really any form of bread dough.
Yeah, It's pretty basic dough. You want it to have really high gluten so it can be real stretchy.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about how that might work?
I don't really know that much. I watched Great British Bake Off and they talked about gluten one time.
So if someone was making this at home, they'd take some of those ingredients, put them in a mixing bowl.
I would say definitely look up a very specific recipe. You're going to need the dough to rise. It's a multi-hour process.
Multi-hour process, but we've got it.
But then it's freezer safe, so you can make a bunch of them.
This is actually, I think, from the 20th we made this.
I think that
we made a batch.
Yeah.
But if you are feeling like it's not something that you want to learn to do, Albertsons does have it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right when you walk into Albertsons where kind of the specialty cheeses are and the hummus and the sandwiches. There's just big balls of pizza dough there. It's not very expensive. It's like $3 for a big blob of it. And it's enough for a pizza, used to make garlic knots. It's great. So there's a lot of different tools for how you're actually able to make the pizza. We happen to have 2 pizza stones, but we actually don't use them. And the reason for that is we have found it very difficult to get the pizza off of the pizza stone. And we found that it doesn't firm up in the same way.
The point of the pizza stone is that you're supposed to make it like molten hot ahead of time,
Mm-hmm.
like a pizza brick oven would be. And so you pre-cook the stone and then you put the pizza on it and then cook it more. But I'm not talented enough as a pizza maker to know how to get the dough on the stone while it's hot without burning myself in the process. It's just too much. I just use the backside of a baking sheet.
And it actually comes out great because what you got is sort of a Sicilian pie shape, but thin crust.
Yeah, if we had a round baking sheet, then we could do it round.
Who needs a round pizza? All right, so we're gonna combine these 2 balls of dough.
Yeah, so those we had them portioned so that we could do 2 personal pizzas or 1 family pizza. Whichever Francis prefers is what we'll do. Personal size is fun, especially if you have a family, because you can do the dough and you can do all the hard part, and then it's very easy to have younger members of your family just come and like do their toppings. So.
Or immature older members of your family.
Or your husband, yes.
All right, so I'm going to put it. All right, got a little bit of pizza dough there. In Avalon, I think on television, oftentimes when you see pizza dough at like a pizza restaurant, they roll it in flour. Is that just from television?
They roll it in flour?
There's like a flour on the counter and kind of...
Well, if you're kneading it or rolling it out on a surface, you're going to need flour so it doesn't stick to the table. Yeah, but that's more of like a barrier for the table than anything. I will say that before you put it down on your pan, if you want to use like a cornstarch, or a coarse corn meal, that can help it not stick. But honestly, I just use Pam. So, but that would be a nice
I think I
thing
found
to do.
some cornstarch the other day.
We definitely have it.
Should I use a rolling pin to kind of make it one?
So no. Just knead it a bunch until it's together, and then you're gonna want to like gently and gradually stretch it in your hands before you put it down. I don't like the way you're stretching it. No.
Do you want me to take over the sauce?
I do, yeah. All right. So like I said, look up a good pizza dough recipe. It'll have a higher gluten, not content, but the process of making pizza dough is a higher gluten than some other kinds of bread dough. You don't want to tear it by stretching it. You want to just sort of encourage it to gradually stretch itself. Gravity will help you do that. I'm not great at this. I am only okay at it. I can't spin it. I can't do cool tricks.
Spinning is an integral part of the process.
I had
From a cool looking
dated someone who worked in a pizzeria and they could do all the flippy spinny stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I can use Excel.
They could probably also use Excel. Yep, so again, you just kind of slowly rotating it like a steering wheel, encouraging some of the thicker pockets of it to stretch on its own just by its own weight and gravity until it gets to a somewhat reasonable size. And then I will move on to a different kind of stretching technique. Francis, I think that ground turkey is probably
Ready for the
ready
sauce?
for the jar sauce.
Super.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of something. You might be wondering why, now that we're not actually making a sauce for pizza tonight, it's because tomorrow is spaghetti night.
Yeah, Francis really wanted us to show you how to make a sauce from scratch, so now we have extra sauce. So we're going to get an Italian weekend. Yeah. Oh yeah, and honestly, you can make a ton of it and freeze it. Can you turn down the burner on the sauce in the back?
I so can.
Thank you. Okay.
Meatloaf?
Sure. I didn't know what you said.
I said meatloaf.
I got there. Okay, so I've been rotating and stretching for a while. It's nowhere near breaking on itself, but if you were to pull on it, it might tear. And then you can pinch it with your fingers back together, but it starts to become kind of annoying. Okay, so now it's big enough that I can get both of my fists under it. And I just kind of like rotate them around to encourage it to stretch more. Nothing terribly complicated. It's all sort of intuitive, whatever feels like it's stretching it without tearing. If one area starts to become too thin, try to really quickly move to maybe another area of the dough. I definitely rip it pretty often, and I'm sure I will today as well. It's also 1,000,000 degrees in our kitchen right now.
Technically, it's no greater than 350 degrees.
Yeah.
I can get the window.
No, it's okay. I also have pregnancy person hormones that make me warmer than it actually is.
A little bit of a science lesson.
Okay.
All right, sauce is a simmering.
Okay, so that's
Pizza
the
dough's a
Ziti
flat
sauce
one.
is done.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but
Killer.
let's not become confused unless.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Do
see
you
what
want to
you're
switch gears to it? I can.
No.
I can do this off screen.
Okay, I'm going to switch gears ever so slightly. I'm going to move.
Pause. I need you to switch gears more slowly. So put that back down, please.
Oh.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish stretching this out until it's the dimensions of this pan. And Francis is going to go back to the baked ziti.
All right, so, and only for a moment, because I just want to get that sauce into this bowl. Because what's great about a dish like this, where you can kind of just pop it in whenever you're ready to have it. So again, a great dish for a party, because if I am not really sure how long it's going to take me, or kind of have some time earlier in the day, I can put all of these ingredients together, seal them up in a Tupperware, put it in the fridge, and then just, it's ready to bake once it's ready to go. So we're going to pour this in. I don't know that we're going to use all of this sauce because there's quite a bit. So some that I might save for spaghetti night. But yeah, once this is all together in the bowl, then it's just a matter of really putting it inside that Tupperware, inside of that casserole dish. And oftentimes, if I'm making this for someone, again, something like a meal train, I would actually just bring it all over uncooked and just say, pop this in the oven for 20 minutes at 350, which is exactly what we're going to do in a little bit. And then they can have it, that night, the next day. It will hold. It's one of the great things. All right. So I think we will want a little bit more meat than that. I will tell you what, y'all, it has been a long day, and I am hungry. And I am excited to just really dig into a sheet of baked ziti. We have freezer room to freeze it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to eat all of it. And the pizza.
No, you're not.
I've also got some great desserts lined up this week. Been buying a lot of Ben & Jerry's. This is one called Netflix and Chilled. It has a pretzel ribbon. I've seen a caramel ribbon. I've seen a chocolate ribbon. I've never seen a pretzel ribbon in ice cream. And honestly, I think we can put a little bit more of this meat in there. We've essentially used all of the meat sauce. I was a terrible judge at the outset of how much meat sauce this would need. So this is perfect. All right. And so like I said, this thing is basically ready to rock and roll. I'm actually going to transition it right now into the... no, I'm going to transition into the casserole dish, which will involve putting cheese on top. Okay. Excuse me, a little Rooney. That's some good Lily. Okay. No need to pan the inside. Just ready to be dunked on in. Here we go. The moment of truth. Whoa! There we go. That is a fine looking, almost baked ziti. All right, so we're going to spread it out. And, despite my irrational fear about pasta spilling over the sides of the casserole dish, we're going to do a few more stirs in there. Stir it up. All right, that's pretty well mixed. Flatten it all out, pave it on down. One thick, beautiful slab. All right. Excellent. Now, if you really want to go all out, you should get a level just to make sure it's totally flat on top. Just kidding. Don't do that. It will sink right into the noodles. We are going to put, like I said, about half a bag more because you can never have enough cheese. Pizza cheese?
Don't use it.
No, I'm not. I'm using the Italian style 6 cheese blend.
I mean, that's not what I meant. That's fine.
Oh, sorry. No, I am. You will still have a bag and a half. All right. Spread that out ever so elegantly. Presentation is everything. Okay. And now it's ready to go. So again, let's say I've got a big after work potluck. I've got no time after work. I can get up in the morning. This took what? Half an hour? And all that needs to do is just go right into the oven, 350, 20 minutes. So that's exactly what we're going to do with it in a bit.
No, put it in now.
Put it in now. We're going to put it in right now. Okay. We have preheated the oven. And it goes. Oh. Hey, Google, set timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. And we're starting now.
Okay, so off frame, I just continued to stretch that pizza dough so that it was the dimensions of the pan that we're using. Just kind of draped it on. It is very evident to me that it is much thinner in some places and thicker in other places. My homemade pizza is rustic. Sometimes it supports its own weight, sometimes it doesn't. It's fine.
Sometimes it's more of a casserole, and I think that's cool.
It's like never a casserole. It's like what?
Chicago deep dish.
I did not know what you said.
Something to eat with a fork and a knife.
Yeah. So anyway.
So now, Avalon, I'm so curious. Do we just put the pepperoni right on the dough, put it in the oven?
So no, what we would normally do is have an oven that's preheated to like 425.
Oh.
Unfortunately, we're using it for the Ziti right now.
I can bump that up. The great thing about Ziti is it is very adaptable. Since everything's already cooked, you're essentially just cooking it until
You're
the
just
cheese
melting
is
the cheese on.
Yeah, so that can go up to 425 NBD.
And so what you do is you cook I pre-cook this crust a little bit. Otherwise, it's hard for me to get it cooked all the way through if I top it and then put it in. So I do pre-cook it a little bit, not a lot. So it's 425 for like 7 or 8 minutes, depending on how thin it is. I just keep an eye on it. And then I pull it out at that point, do the sauce, the cheese, the toppings that you prefer, and then put it back in for another 15 minutes. So yeah.
Excellent.
So I don't know how much of that like we need to do on camera or not.
No, well, I was kind of figuring once it goes in.
Well, there's 2 stages to it coming in and out.
Is it ready to go in for stage 1?
Yeah.
Let's do it for stage 1.
Okay. And then we've got like 15 minutes of downtime.
And then it's time to talk about our favorite dishes from childhood.
Okay. That situation's got me.
Can't be seen. Can't do much with it while keeping this.
Okay.
Open. But I promise I'll dress it right now.
It just looks like it's gonna fall.
And just so I have a sense of scope for the remaining, it would be putting on the pizza sauce, putting on the cheese and the toppings. Super. All right. So since we are in the home stretch, but we still have some time before it comes out, we were going to use this as an opportunity just to chat about what are some of the things that were significant food items for us growing up. Because the idea of this is not just to share recipes, and we will be writing these recipes down and posting them to the Facebook page and consolidating them into a single Google Drive folder where folks can share recipes from around Spencerview. But since there is downtime before it comes out, I figured, why don't we chat about what do you think, Avalon, was your favorite meal as a child? Doesn't have to be anything like significant, just like what was like your favorite food as a kid?
Can I pick 2?
You sure can.
Okay. So I love lasagna. That's like my favorite comfort food. But my mom is from the Houston area, and so she tended to cook. I was a very picky eater, as was my dad, so we didn't have super exciting meals, which is probably frustrating for her. But she would do a lot of like chilies and Tex-Mex kind of things that I really liked. And I really liked it when she would make chili with like cheese and sour cream and like crumbled up Fritos on it. It was like my favorite meal. It's not something we had often because typically she was a bit of a health food person, but that was my favorite.
What's your second favorite?
I said lasagna.
Oh, okay.
Which again, I have no Italian family. I think it's just something that a lot of people in the US, it's not hard.
When I was growing up, I would say some of my favorite meals were around the holidays. You know, like my Aunt Noreen often hosted Thanksgiving and make this really great turkey. My mom and our family, we would spend our Christmases at my grandma's. And my grandpa had this really amazing gravy that it was a secret recipe until very recently. Well, not very recently. He had passed away, I want to say 2001. And after my grandma passed is when she gave my brother the secret recipe, and we found out what the secret ingredient was. So now he makes our gravy every year. And
You should give me that recipe so I could do it for our Thanksgivings.
oh no, that's okay. It's well, first of all, it's for Christmas.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's a beef recipe. It's a beef gravy.
Oh.
Thanksgiving.
For like roast beef.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thanksgiving, I actually never spent really with my mom. Like very few years did I spend it at my mom's. I was almost always at my dad, which, I'm sure is an experience a lot of folks have, growing up with some holidays with mom, some holidays with dad. And so for me growing up, Christmas was usually at my mom/grandma's house. And then I would spend Thanksgiving at my dad's and my Aunt Marie.
Mine was the opposite. I always do Thanksgiving with my mom and then Christmas with my dad.
It's funny, and I as I'm thinking about this question that I asked, I can't think of too many foods that, like, as a kid, were like, I'm so excited for this, because my mom worked a lot and had a lot of like extracurricular activities. So when I'm
5 kids.
And 5 kids,
Yeah.
And so when I'm thinking about like childhood food, I'm thinking about cheesy dinosaur nuggets and chicken breast. And I love my mother dearly, but my goodness, could that woman dry out a chicken? I did not know what real chicken tasted like until I moved out. And it's okay to say that because my stepdad also says it very openly. But what I do remember is not necessarily the specific foods, but like the feeling, the feeling of coming down for Christmas dinner at my grandma's and everyone just shouting over each other. Thanksgiving at my Aunt Marine's with just millions of McQuaid cousins and everybody like breaking into the grown-ups table and the semi-grown-ups table and the kids table. And I just really treasure the memories around food. I think most of all, I remember and treasure all of the hors d'oeuvres, like my Aunt Marine's antipasta, my mom's like little meatballs. There was always just a lot of food leading up to food that we just gathered around and had community around. And that's kind of, I guess, things I remember most.
Yeah. I think that is, I think that is very Italian, this hors d'oeuvre part. Because I only think of that in terms of appetizers, in terms of like going out for a special occasion dinner. And I have been surprised in spending holidays with your family at not just the fact that there are finger foods, because we would do cheese and crackers to tide you over, but that there are finger foods that seem as labor and time intensive as the entrees is not something that I'm familiar with at all.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool.
The other thing that brings me a lot of kid memories is like the regional brands. And Avalon laughed because when we moved out here, just every other day I was like, oh my God, I can't find X kind of food. It must be a regional brand. And it was fascinating to me. Like Wise chips were sort of like the generic brand chip if your parents didn't want to buy like Frito-Lay or whatever. So I had a lot of Wise chips, and I love Wise chips. Can't find them out here. So just some of those like specific family brands, I also have a lot of fond memories of.
Yeah. In a non-judgmental way that's going to sound judgmental, it sounds like a lot of your food memories are attached to like processed foods, which is totally fine. Except I know you as an adult and you don't really eat those things. So I'm wondering when that shift occurred for you, or why, or because
I don't know.
You're pretty from scratch.
Well, but my mom did cook.
I'm sure she did.
I don't know why my memories are of things like chicken nuggets. I guess like when you have a big family, you kind of make what you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably doing my mom a tremendous disservice. She's a fine cook, and I have a lot of great holiday food memories. I just can't really latch on to any, like, we always ate dinner together. We always ate dinner at home. Everyone was there. There's just no dish that particularly stands out. Yeah. But yeah, I do enjoy processed foods. But I mean,
we all do. But yeah, it's just interesting that those aren't your choices.
Yeah, I went on a bit of a health kick post-college.
Yeah.
All right, pizza crust. It's almost out. And we are nearing the end of this first episode of Cooking Classes.
Well, I think more importantly, the Ziti is probably done.
10 more minutes by my estimation. But I'll take a look at it. Because again, the nice thing about ziti is it's basically done. It's like smoked sausage. You know, you're heating it up, you're not eating it cold, but it's already cooked. It's kind of like smoked sausage.
Woo! All right.
Ooh, that does look pretty close to done. I would
It's
give it
'cause
another
the-
5.
Heat is higher than it normally is.
Sure.
So I'm just doing this because one of the downsides to cooking pizza on an upside down baking sheet is that it's hard to keep it from touching the table.
Can I help in any way? Can I prep something?
Not right now. You could just stay out of my way. Okay, so we have partially cooked. I almost just lost it.
And you can see already it's really firmed up.
Okay, partially cooked pizza crust. You can also see that it's not sticking, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Who happens hot? So at this point, and that was in for 8 minutes. It's a little squishy if you push on it, but it's firm. And yeah, so I would say you can top it as you like. I wouldn't pour directly from there because you're going to need a lot less sauce than you expect, unlike the ziti. No, go for it.
No, I'm going to do
No,
it
I
bad.
really want you to.
I think I'll do it bad.
Yeah, but I'm so warm. Can you get a spoon?
Mhm.
And then I want you to top it because you've never done it before. That's not a spoon. That's a spatula. And then if you can spoon it out of the jar.
Oh, I can't get a spoon in there.
Yeah, no, I mean a spoon, like a human spoon.
Oh.
Sorry. So again, normally we would be doing that from scratch sauce that we work so hard on, but. And then using the back of the spoon, make swirling motions. The back of the spoon, yeah, just like spread it. You don't want to rub it in, but you just want to like lightly spread it over the top.
So I'll need a little more.
Looks like it. You don't want to go all the way to the edge because you want a pizza crust amount to be left, but definitely closer to the edge than that. And while I finish up what you're doing with the sauce, you can start talking about what kinds of toppings you like.
So Avalon actually makes a really killer buffalo chicken pizza that I love. In my opinion, buffalo chicken pizza, best pizza ever. I am just so not in touch with my Italian heritage if that's my answer to best topping on a pizza.
But I bet you were introduced to that in Italian pizzerias.
Yes, O Sole Mio, I think, was the first place I had it in Long Island.
I've only ever seen it in Italian places.
And the thing about buffalo chicken pizza is when it's good, it's the best. When it's bad, it is awful. There is no in between. Because it was my hope and intention to be the pizza maker tonight, and then I didn't have time to learn it over the course of the week, and Avalon has graciously stepped in to make it. Because I was not planning to be the pizza maker, I was also not planning to learn how to make buffalo sauce and go with my second favorite pizza, pepperoni pizza, which actually, when I go home now and I only have like maybe 1 or 2 pizzas over the course of a week, I really don't have any pizza to waste. It's like my 1 pizza per year. So I just go right to pepperoni pizza because I think it's easier it's harder to mess up. And I just think it's the most classic pizza flavor.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Do you want to do cheese before pepperoni?
Cheese before the pepperoni.
So that the pepperoni gets crispy in the oven.
So we've got this pizza cheese blend. And would you say 1 is enough or 1
I'd
and a half?
have to see it.
So this part I'm okay at. I'm not good at the sauce, but I'm good at lightly sprinkling cheese.
So I'll say there's totally nothing wrong with these grated cheeses. I think they're super convenient, especially if you're trying to buy in bulk right now to limit the number of trips to the store. I think in a perfect world, if you get like fresh mozzarella balls from the deli section, that's definitely the best. But this is totally great too. And make sure the cheese covers all the saucy parts, all the way up to the edge. I personally don't feel like you can put enough cheese. I like bad Domino's pizza.
I love Domino's. Avalon, what's your favorite Domino's flavor?
I like sausage, and onion. Honestly, so because they always have the coupons where you can only get 2 toppings, so that would be my choice. But in like a really decadent world where I could have more toppings, I'd have so many toppings.
Is that probably good?
Yeah, but I want it to go all the way to the edge of the cheese.
All right.
Beep, boop, bop.
I have a reminder for something nice.
I don't know what that means.
Neither do I, man. That Google Home's got a brain of its own. And so I am going to put on the pepperoni
Yes,
and
please.
put this in the oven. But because we are winding down the episode, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. I'm actually just going to pull the big ziti out just to show it, and then we'll call it.
Okay.
All right. So, because you get the idea, it goes into the oven, it comes out looking more like pizza.
Like maybe 10 more minutes, and then you're good.
But we will pull out now. Wow, that is a hot oven.
Yeah, it's unpleasant.
Here comes the baked ziti.
Be careful. I don't know why I'm saying that. It just feels like the thing to say.
All right, look at that. It looks good. So I actually really like a good crispy noodle on top. That is my fave.
Yeah, so
There
it's
you
nice
have
and
it.
browned and melted. I guess that's what the pizza will also look like. These are really just 2 versions of the same meal.
Yeah, one's got bread on the bottom, one's got noodles on the bottom. So thank you very much for tuning in to the first cooking classes with Dee Lee. I was your first guest for this series, Francis Pastrell, and this was Avalon Mason, my wonderful spouse.
Do you think that the other cooking shows will have vegetables?
Maybe. I think our next one, I don't want to sign them up prematurely, but Dee does have someone in mind. I believe Dee's neighbor will be showing us Vietnamese.
Vietnamese.
Which I am not good at cooking. So that'll be a really great episode. And if not, Christina Beeland, our front desk assignments coordinator, has also offered to appear on a future episode. If you'd like to be on a future episode of cooking classes with Dee Lee, email D Lee, which I believe is just DIL @uoregon.edu. And if that's not it, it is in the newsletter, and you can look that up and shoot her an email. We're really looking for any kind of dish at all. It can be something you loved as a kid, something you love now, something from where you're from, or something you've learned along the way. And we'll see you next week on Cooking Classes with Dee Lee.